This is Brian Margolis, and welcome to the Simplify Your Strategy, Magnify Your Results podcast, where on each episode I use the pillar system to help a sales pro, entrepreneur, or other results based professional create a weekly strategy to run a simple, more lucrative business. A strategy so simple it can fit on an index card, but so powerful it's actually helped create multiple seven-figure earners and is now licensed by some of the largest companies in the world to create strategies for their teams. If you'd like a free copy of my book on exactly how to do this, or want to be considered as a guest on a future episode, head on over to productivitygiant.com. Enjoy the episode. All right. So thank you for joining me, Sam. And just real quick, because for those who are going to be listening to the recording of this, so you are a financial wholesaler, which is
I am.
a group I'm very familiar with. And your job basically is you are a wholesaler to financial advisors, meaning your job is to call on the financial advisors in your region, your territory, and essentially encourage them, influence them, convince them, whatever the word is, to use your products for their clients. Is that a fair definition? That's why they call you a wholesaler.
That's a great definition, my friend.
Perfect. So although the end client that uses your company's product is the investor, the financial advisor is really your client. And so your situation is you and I had worked together in the past. So you're very familiar with my work and my systems and all that kind of stuff. But I thought this would be a cool situation to build an episode around, because you have basically done a 180 in that you're basically in a brand new company with a, brand new to you company, but also a newer company, if I remember, with
Correct. Yep.
a newer product. And so you're basically starting over. Is that an accurate way of saying it? How would you describe it?
It is. It is. So obviously, you and I worked together a couple years ago, and like you said, really doing a 180. The company I'm currently with is brand new to the industry. Advisors don't know the company, and in addition, I think you hit on this as well. Is my territory is really brand new territory as well, right? So the advisors don't know me, they don't know the company, and obviously, I think the really goes without saying the unique environment that we're in, working through COVID as well, is really changed the way I prospected and was able to get in the door in the past, when I was building new territories. And so, really trying to tie kind of our work that we did in the past together with what I need to do right now to run that intentional business and be more effective at getting in the door and making those connections to advisors who, like you said, they don't know me, they don't know our product, don't know our firm. And so, how do I speed out that process in an environment that's completely changed from the way we did business, as you know, in the past?
Yeah. And the, look, you've already bought into this system. You've used it in the past. So all we have to really do today is identify what your pillars are going to be for the current situation. And
Correct. Yep.
so, having said that, I imagine, I could be wrong, but you know, the bottleneck in your business right now is access, meaning, whereas maybe in a past business or job you had a lot more access. Right now, the bottleneck is you're just not talking to a lot of advisors. Would you say that's one of the bottlenecks?
That, I would say, by far is the biggest bottleneck. In the past, there were a lot of ways to obviously engage with advisors, right? And I think I've heard through some of your trainings you reference obviously the one to many, right? Some group meeting in some format where I could go out to the territory, conduct a continuing education event, or bring in a speaker and send out the invitations and connect to advisors. But to your point, obviously, yeah, the biggest bottleneck in my business by far right now is I need to have more conversations with advisors to get in the door. But also, of course, the reason we're talking is to connect that to not just thinking about it, right, and throwing a couple of ideas out there here and there, but to really incorporate that into kind of an intentional process around my business, right?
Right.
And so, I mean, you hit it off the tee. I mean, it's I can't really go deep into, hey, the bottleneck is in closing business, right? Because I don't have enough in the pipeline to really go, hey, is this a bottleneck or not? It's really comes down to getting access in today's environment. And I think the benefit of obviously engaging in the conversation, one of the benefits right now is it's not just today's environment, but it's also, uh, of course, moving forward, right? And, I think running a more effective business around that process of getting in the door and getting access to those advisors will, no pun intended, open up a lot of doors going forward in my business,
Okay.
obviously with, in wholesaling.
Yeah. So one bottleneck is the access. I mean, even if you were
Yeah.
mediocre, and a lot of people listening can probably relate to this, whether they're, you know, at every, whether it's a new business, a new job, or a new component to your business, where, I am in personally right now, where I'm adding a new part to my business, you're at the point where you don't have a lot of traction. And, even if you were mediocre at everything else, just by gaining more access, by prospecting better, by having more meetings, you would naturally see growth, even if you were mediocre at everything else. And so, why don't we start off with question number one, which is, what is something you already know how to do effectively that if you just did more of or were more consistent with, would have the biggest impact on your business, right? I'm sure you've been thinking about this based on our past. And so
Yeah.
what are kind of your consistency pillars? What do you think? What are those things you have to make sure you're doing each week?
Yeah. I think, setting up, I've always been really effective at working the one to many kind of group presentations. Obviously, today's environment is a little bit different, where those, are using webinars and Zoom calls, not getting in front of a room, buying a lunch and presenting. And so I know how to effectively build and deliver an effective group presentation. And so, that's one of the things, and, I think some of your trainings and audios in the past, have really talked about leveraging that. And so that's one of the things that I think I can do consistently and I know how to do, um, is to effectively deliver those presentations.
Okay, but you can't deliver those presentations until you have access, right?
Correct, correct,
So
correct.
so again,
And so I think,
on the consistency front about what you control right now, you've heard me say this a million times, but
yeah.
basically, wherever the problem is, it's either something you're not doing consistently, something you're
Mhm.
not doing effectively, or both, right? I'm just looking at the consistency component right now. So, what are those things right now that you can do each week and you need to make sure you're doing each week?
I need to send invitations out for future, I think one to many events
Okay.
every single week. I'm not doing that consistently, but I think that's how I can help open up the door and get in the door with,
Okay. So
yeah.
you need to, well, let me ask you, is it just about sending the invites, or is it about creating the event as well?
It's about creating the event and sending the invites and and really, when I think about, and going back to your question, when I think about the, you know bigger picture bottleneck of, getting in the door and prospecting, things like that, um I think you and I've obviously talked to a million of my counterparts, but I really started hitting that kind of shiny dot, uh, you know what's the best way to reach out to guys, right? Is it LinkedIn? Is it InMail? Is it email? Is
Hmm.
it calling? And so, I'm bouncing all over the place trying to figure out, what's the best way. But it's also, I've got to create these 7-minute calls, the 9-minute calls, and then I need to have a process around, you know, effectively getting in the door where I'm committed to that process, not just bouncing around like, hey, let me try emails this week, or let me try
Right.
emails,
Right.
or
Let,
things
let
like
me,
that.
yeah,
Yeah,
let me ask you something. The, so when you're saying the one to many events, all right,
yeah.
are those the same? Are we talking about the same thing with the one to many and the 7, 9 minute, 11-minute calls?
We are.
Okay.
Yeah,
So just,
yeah.
yeah, I just want to make sure because people listening don't, necessarily know what the heck we're talking about. Something that
Sure.
you and I worked on in the past was these, value added things for advisors. But, whereas I believe so many people have fatigue of these 45-minute webinars and things like that, we do these little 7-minute calls, 9-minute calls because they're quick, they're valuable, they're attractive. So okay, I just want to make sure we were talking about the same thing.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I don't really think sending the invites is the thing you need to do consistently. Um, unless I'm mistaken, is you have to actually spend time building these, right?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Because I have a feeling once you build them, you will naturally, I could be wrong, but you'll naturally be inviting people, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So again, and again, we're gonna have a few shortcuts here because we have talked in the past, unlike
No, sure.
some other people. But okay, so it's really creating your, let's just call them. I know some people call them quick hit calls, right?
Yeah,
For
sure.
lack of a better word, let's call it, quick hit calls or QHCs, right?
Okay.
That's one thing you have to do. And again, none of these are actually pillars yet. We're just kind of brainstorming here.
Right.
Um, the so you have to do that consistently, and then based on what you said after that was, it sounds like you need to prospect consistently.
Exactly.
Seems like
Exactly. And so,
an obvious one, right?
yeah, it's very obvious. So,
Okay.
bridging the gap, really kind of in an intentional way, right? Where, I have these quick hit calls, but also need a prospect to actually have conversations, uh, around our product and how we fit in things like that. And so, how do I kind of marry those two together? Really an intentional process where I'm also doing kind of both at the same time, right?
Right. Okay. Yeah. No, we're
Right.
gonna address
Yeah.
that, and
Yeah.
my, the way I look at prospecting, and you've heard me say this before, but I don't care what industry you're in. If somebody won't take your meeting, if you're having a hard time getting meetings, there's only two reasons. Either you don't have anything they value, right? You don't
Right.
have anything they're willing to trade their time for. And sometimes that's just the case. What you offer, they're just not interested in, right? And then the second reason someone might not take your meeting or ask you for a demo or whatever it's going to be is that you have something of value, you just can't articulate it quickly, right? You can't
Right.
articulate it in a 1 sentence email or a 10-second voicemail or something like that. So, we're going to have to address both components of that in these pillars, right? Make sure
Yeah, I
you
think
have
so.
something valuable, and then also make sure we're articulating it quickly and consistently. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
we
I
have,
think,
so prospecting is going to be a huge part of the thing you need to do consistently. Yep.
yep.
All right. What about, so we'll handle those in the pillars. What about anything like, are you at the point right now in your business where is scheduling something you need to be doing consistently, or is that just 99% of scheduling is prospecting?
I would say 99% of scheduling is prospecting.
Okay.
Really the most momentum, I've been able to get as far as traction since I have taken over this uh, new opportunity is really through COIs and getting introductions and things like that. So going back to that, scheduling with guys that I already know is very, very small. part of the bigger picture. It comes down to kind of getting in the door and prospecting are the big bottlenecks where I'm kind of running up, beating my head against the wall, so to
Yeah.
speak, over and over again.
How many people would you say you currently have in your warm market? Meaning they know you, they know who you are, and you know who they are. But both advisors and COIs.
That's a really good question. Advisors, in this kind of new environment, obviously, I would say there are probably 10 to 15 that they know me, um, et cetera.
What about
COIs,
centers of influence?
COIs, that's the COIs I'm referring to are some our competitors as well as business partners, record keepers, et cetera, that I may be dealing with. But I would say, you know, there's probably 10 good COIs that I can reach out to and connect with and have conversations with about partnering and
Okay.
things like that.
All right. And that's been your most successful route so far early on.
It really is. My most successful introductions, ironically, have actually come from a competitor of mine.
Yeah. No,
Guy who's
that's not uncommon in your industry.
yeah, guy who's incredibly well established. He's been around. Obviously, his goals are significantly larger than mine, and I connected with him and said, "Hey, can you help me out?" And good guy. He's like, "Yeah, sure."
Yeah, no, I mean, I look,
Yeah,
other wholesalers are a great source of leverage. Okay. What else consistently? I mean, does follow up play into it yet, or is that a non-issue right now?
follow up is a non-issue. I think one of the things I need to get more consistent at or better at, as part of the process is not necessarily, maybe incorporate it in terms of follow up is when I leave that meeting, creating that kind of next steps, that urgency for that follow up process, that I can absolutely do more
So
consistently.
you're talking about inside the meeting instead of tapping out early, actually having the clarifying conversation so that
Yes.
you and the advisor are on the same page with what the next step is, or you might find out you're not on the same page, meaning they're not really interested. They were just telling you what you want to hear, right?
Yeah, correct.
Okay.
I absolutely.
So what we call in my, again, for those listening, I have a lot of wholesaler specific training, but what you would call clarifying conversations, right?
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
So do you need to do those more consistently? Meaning it's just a matter of you need to make sure you're asking clarifying questions, or do you need to actually work on the conversation itself at this point?
I need to work on the conversation itself at this point.
Okay. So create your clarifying conversations.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Um, just so we don't drop the ball in follow up. All right.
Yeah.
I mean, do you think you should have a follow up pillar, even if it doesn't take you that long each week, or do you think you're naturally going to do it?
No, I think I should have a follow-up pillar because,
Okay.
for kind of multiple reasons. It's one, I get distracted very easily.
Yeah.
So I think having that follow-up pillar is great for making sure stuff doesn't fall through the cracks. And then number two, obviously, the pipeline. I'm clearly not to the point where I have so much in the pipeline where if something falls through, it's no big deal, right? Every
Right.
opportunity, I really have to make sure I kind of follow it through as much as
Okay. So
humanly possible.
then the follow up pillar, the consistency pillar that I would put into place would be um, where when you have a clarifying conversation, you at the end of that clarifying conversation, you believe that there's a true opportunity, right? You actually leave
hmm
believing there's an opportunity. Where do you then put those opportunities? Do you have an Excel sheet that you keep them on? Do you?
I throw them in our CRM, which is Salesforce. Put a placeholder.
But is that like
Um,
is that like a black hole, or can you reprint? Can you
N-
print a report every week saying these are my open opportunities?
No, I can print a report every week that says, "Hey, here are the open opportunities from Salesforce."
Okay. Okay. So, and
Yep.
that's better for you right now than just keeping an Excel sheet.
Yeah, I think so. I think so. But I'm open to,
Well, no, for
it.
some people, some
Yeah,
people in the world of sales, CRMs are like these black holes, and they kind of
yeah.
they use it more to deposit information. It makes their company happy, and then if they need to get something, they'll go after it.
Sure.
Where they don't. Whereas with an Excel sheet, just simple, like their name, the last date of contact, and any notes you have. But it
Yeah,
doesn't matter to me. I'm just
yeah.
asking, what's easier for you? Is keep an Excel sheet, or just a separate Excel sheet of opportunities that you've identified, or just print the Salesforce report?
I think just print the Salesforce report.
Okay. All right. So
Yeah.
then, okay. So Salesforce report view times. Okay. Anything else on the consistency front that you can think of?
Um, we already hit a little bit on it earlier, but consistently, I need to work on not just creating the quick hit calls, but um, really, really being able to be an expert, or not an expert, but being able to deliver, that value add. If I'm going to create that quick hit call, obviously I need to be effective and have a list of those, like you and I have talked about in the past. And so, consistently kind of a learning
Yeah.
block to practice
Are
on
you
the
saying
parts.
actually create? When I say create the quick hit calls, I mean everything. Like, figuring out how to turn
Okay. Yeah.
information into weaponized value for them, and then delivering it.
Yep.
Um,
Okay. No,
yeah.
that makes sense. Yeah.
And then
That's
you
kind
have
of
the in
we kind of
meeting
went through that.
program, something
Yep.
I work with wholesalers, for those listening, something called a VAR strategy, where you actually create the in meeting program. So if they want to meet with you, you can actually show them how to get a result very quickly inside the meeting. So to me, that all, based on our past, that all goes
Yeah.
under VAR strategy, right?
Okay. Perfect. Yep.
Gathering the information that can help advisors, weaponizing it in the format that I teach on the audios, right?
Yep.
The quick hit calls are more of like a getting in the door to get advisors to respond to you. And so that, to me, all goes under VAR strategy.
Cool. Got it. Makes
Okay.
sense.
So in addition to working on your VAR strategies, getting better at those, creating your quick hit calls, you know, what are some other skills, or what's another skill, kind of question number two, that if you significantly improved on, would have a big impact on your business, right? We talked about clarifying conversations, something you need to get better at, talked about creating your VAR strategies. Any other skills that if you improved on would have a significant impact on your business?
Yeah. Absolutely. You know, sending emails that advisors respond to. That's obviously, prospecting a VAR, and just, getting that hit rate and practicing, and becoming better at that is a,
You're basically talking about the direct response copywriting,
correct.
the
Yeah,
ability to write an email an advisor responds to.
exactly.
Okay. All right. So direct response copywriting is a possibility here. And again, we're just laying all these things out, and then
Yeah.
we'll, we'll clean them up, and they'll be crystal clear.
Fantastic, buddy.
The
Um, you know,
Go ahead.
and just to kind of obviously circle back, we talked earlier, back in the, in air quotes, the old days, I was very effective for in-person presentations, right? I have a lot of energy. I can
Hmm.
present really effectively, probably like a lot of your clients in front of groups, right? But I don't necessarily think, because I haven't had a lot of practice at it, presenting in front of a computer is necessarily a skill set that I've really developed. And so it's something I think I could probably obviously execute and get better on. So if I'm doing these quick hit calls, having a lot more virtual meetings, how do I get better at
But
presenting in front of a screen?
yeah, I mean, but do you think, because again, it's all about with pillars,
Yeah,
return on investment, right?
yeah,
Do you think that's something you need to pour a lot of time into, like reading books on virtual presentations, or do you think it's just something that you'll get better at over time?
I that's a good way to put it. No, I think it's something I'll just get better at over time.
Yeah, for some people that might not be
Yeah,
true. They might have to actually spend time each week practicing, learning, whatever. But based on your
yeah,
past, I think it's more of a comfort thing, which is, you just being yourself over time. I think you're going to naturally get better at this virtual stuff.
right, right. And I think what it comes down to is also feeling confident about the content, right? And so if I'm creating this quick hit call that I'm putting together this presentation, feeling confident that hey, this is something that's actually you know if these advisors dial into it, that they're going to be interested in and go, wow,
Yep.
that was really good. Thanks for doing it. And
Yeah.
so part of the bottleneck in terms of I think creating that is feeling the confidence that okay, if I create it and I do it, our advisors, the corner office, anyone who dials in, right, the C level, C suite executive, whoever dials in, is going to go, wow, thanks, that was worth my time, or they'll go, wow, I can't believe this guy's doing it. So part of it is probably building that confidence for me that I'm delivering the right content to the advisors, if that makes sense.
Yeah. No, 100%. So look, I mean, when you have something that's actually valuable to advisors, everything else gets easier. The emails, or even if
Yeah.
you're mediocre emails, they get through because it's valuable. The presentations don't have to be as crisp because it's valuable. So, um, what about the actual messaging, the storytelling around your product? Because it is a new product or new to the market, and so the brand isn't going to get anyone's attention. What about your product story? Are you where you need to be?
I am not. I'm not. Throwing, for lack of a better word, throw different stuff against the wall when I'm having conversations to see what resonates and see, what kind of traction. And so, I think that's a skill I can definitely get better at is like the way you put it, storytelling around the product. And
And is it a skill being like, do you think you need to work on it outside of meetings, or do you think it's something you can only figure out from being in the meetings?
it's a good question.
I mean, obviously it's both. It's always going to be both, meaning you get feedback in the meetings, you adjust,
Yeah,
whatever. But do you feel like you should be dedicating more time to it outside the meetings?
it's a good question. I'm going to put that as a maybe. I'm not
Okay.
sure yet.
So you're, and again, when I say the product
Yeah,
story, I mean everything from your own product to the competition to whatever.
yeah.
All right. What about prospecting itself? Meaning actually learning about prospecting, meaning there's no shortage of information out there. I've actually been interviewed on I don't know what the thing is recently, but the last few interviews I've done on podcasts have been with prospecting people. Even though it's about my system, their main
Yeah,
thing has been prospecting. There's a lot of ideas out there to get meetings, to get in the doors, a lot of creative ways to do it. And, you know, I find that most people just multiply by zero. They try to do it in volume instead of being creative or quality. I mean, do you think that's an area you could improve in?
it. Absolutely, absolutely. Prospecting and getting in the door, like we talked about, are huge bottlenecks that
Right.
I need to improve in. And one of the things that as we talk about kind of tying and bundling all the pillars and all this information together, one of the things that I find myself getting bogged down in and is I have a prospecting pillar, but then I have a sharpening the axe on prospecting. And so I'll spend all the time kind of going, God, I need to get better at prospecting, reading combo prospecting book or whatever, right?
Right.
And then going back to, okay, how does this actually translate to
Well, we're
my
gonna,
life and
yeah,
my
and
need? And so, building the, I guess, right intentionality about that
yeah.
framework of
Well,
prospecting. Yeah,
this goes back to the whole, it's either something you need to do
yeah,
consistently, effectively, or
yeah,
both. And in this case, it's both. You need to get
yeah.
more effective at it, but you also need to do it consistently. And so we're going to definitely address that in your pillars.
No, perfect.
There's no,
Sounds
there's
great.
no doubt. There's no doubt about that. What about question number 3? I mean, what is something you can organize, plan, or create prior to taking action that would make the action much more impactful? So is there any kind of strategy pillar where is there something you could create each week that'll make something else like the prospecting or the meetings more effective? Is there any kind of like, do you feel like you already kind of know who your prospects are? Do you still need to be doing research or creating hit lists, or what's that situation
I
look like?
I think I still need to spend time doing research and creating hit lists. I find myself kind of, replicating, repeating the same, inefficiently the same work kind of over and over again, right? Because we don't, necessarily have a good database that, consolidates all the information the way I would like. And so, maybe this big RAA that I'm calling on that, has 20 advisors and then a research director and a chief investment officer. And, I still don't know, obviously, who the best person is to the gatekeeper to kind of get in the door with this big firm that has all these different people. And so, I'll find myself kind of replicating that work, over and over again, where I'm like, oh, I need to call XYZ RAA. And so then I go to the website, I go look up their names and then, kind of repeating the process very inefficiently. And so creating that kind of prepping for that hit list or the who to call for get in the door for prospecting or get in the door campaigns, I think
Got it.
is
Well, how
something that's
many?
incredibly important. Yeah.
So how many people have you identified so far that are worth trying to get an initial meeting with? Like, what's your population of potential people right now, or your population of prospects?
Yeah. There are probably 200, roughly 200 prospects that really specialize in the DCIO space that I'm working with, and then on another kind of side note, we're distributing a private fund which is going to be kind of limited slots available to RAAs that there's basically every RAA throughout my territory is a potential prospect, and I have no idea which of those guys a private trust for accredited investors will actually resonate with.
Got it. But do you know who those people are, or you still have to do some homework to figure out who those people are?
I know who the potential firms are. I don't know who the potential contacts in those firms
Contacts
are.
are.
So
Got it.
yeah, so I need to do homework, and again, I haven't really, just lack of, you know, me being me or whatever. I haven't really had a good process in place. When I pull up the website and I see these 20 different guys, I know, okay, one looks like these two or three are my best contacts. I haven't really established a process to, for lack of a better word, to organize that information other than just
Got it.
kind
Okay.
of repeating.
Um,
Yep.
so are you now? You said a word DCIO, which someone listening might
Yeah.
not
Yeah. Sorry about
know
that.
about.
Yeah.
No, so you focus mostly on advisors who do retirement plans.
Correct. The core of our business right now is the advisors who do retirement plans
Right.
with the exception of the temporary kind of asset raise opportunity, which,
Right.
we
That
have.
other product.
Yeah, the other product,
Well,
which
all
is,
right, but back to the retirement thing, right?
yep.
But can you get significant business from someone who necessarily doesn't specialize in retirement, but does a few retirement plans a year? Is that a target for you, or are you not even focused on that?
No, yeah, I think it's an incredibly important target for, you have the base hit guys, right? That may do two or three retirement plans a year, that it may not be a big focus of theirs, but they are certainly selling them. And then you have kind of the big aggregators who,
Right.
are the big long process, who can obviously move the needle and bring a lot of business
Well,
in
but
over time.
with your new company though, are you you're not, are you selling the platform, or are you selling a product that goes inside the platform?
A product that goes inside the platform.
Got it. So you
It's
need to
a
be
Yeah,
calling. So you're also targeting other wholesalers, correct?
I am, yeah,
Ah, okay. And record keepers.
and record keepers, yeah.
Okay. So again, for those listening, these would just be people who can influence whether an advisor uses the product. Um, so in other words, a record keeper or another wholesaler that might sell the platform to the advisor can recommend your products. Now, is that what you were calling your COIs earlier?
The COIs were a combination of the record keepers as well as competitors.
Competitors, but also what about the DCIO wholesalers?
Yeah, correct. Yeah,
Okay.
other DCIO wholesalers
And
as well as
there's
record
only 10 of
keepers.
them, or only 10 that you know?
I mean, there are 10. No, there are a lot more than 10 DCIO wholesalers, but I mean, there are 10 that record keepers and DCIO wholesalers that at some point in time I've connected with over the years, or
Okay. So
you
you should
know,
be, I mean, honestly, you should be
yeah,
prospecting those people too.
yeah, yeah, absolutely,
Ah, okay. So you should be prospecting, intentionally prospecting those people.
yes,
All right. So here's what I have. I'm going to give you my initial rundown of what I think your pillars are, and then we can kind of alternate and clean it up. All right.
okay, yeah, sounds great.
So so you said your what's the word I'm looking for? Your population that you're calling on right now, it's only about 200 people, or is it actually bigger when you get into the guys who aren't exclusively retirement people?
Uh, yeah, it's 200 people are the main targets, but it's bigger when you include the guys who aren't exclusively retirement people, as well as the temporary kind of opportunity to raise sales for in RAs who don't do any retirement business. So
Well, okay. So is that thing ready though for the second product?
it is, yeah. Yeah, we
Okay.
just
So
launched it
and what does
a
that
couple of weeks ago.
population look like?
That population, God, I've no idea.
It's probably huge, right?
It's every RAA kind of in my footprint, and
Mhm.
then you know trying to figure out with these RAs again, like who the right contact person is. Is it the chief investment officer? Is it the
Sure.
research director? Is it the independent financial advisors who may be pulling the trigger? So, big learning curve on that. To obviously kind of get ramped up. But yeah, so
Okay.
it's kind of 200 roughly advisors that are classified, as kind of a lead, that do a lot of retirement business, and then, maybe 100 more that, you know, are dabblers that do have some assets and do some retirement business, and then a whole different segment of these RAAs that we're trying to distribute kind of a limited offer product to.
Got it. So all right, I just want to do a little
Yeah.
quick math here on my calculator. All right, so it's about 85. Okay, so here's, could you get your prospect list down to could you get your prospect list down to about 500 people,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
targeted?
Yeah.
Okay. So that's not a
Gotcha.
pillar. That's a task, right?
Okay.
Okay. Although it might be part of one of the pillars I'm going to suggest here. But so here would be my prospecting pillar for you. All right.
Okay.
My prospecting pillar would be 85, 85, 30, and 5.
Okay.
And let me explain exactly what that means. All right.
Okay.
You're going to take 500 prospects and you're going to divide them up into 6 groups of about 85 people.
Okay.
All right. So group A, B, C, D, E, and F. Now you want to kind of group like people together. So
Yeah.
RIAs in their own groups, and
Yeah.
DCIO only in their own groups, and stuff like that. And so what you're doing is in a rotation. So in week 1, you would send out the 85 emails, right? 85
Okay.
prospecting emails. The second 85 is you're going to forward the first 85 from the week before. Remember that?
Yeah.
Again, for those listening, one of the techniques I teach for prospecting for wholesalers is to forward emails the week after. It seems to work. So 85, 85, right?
Yep.
And then I like how I said it seems to work. It's freaking magical, right? So anyway, the infamous forwarded email. But so email 85, forward the 85 from the week before, any of the 85 that didn't respond. Then you're going to call at least 30 of those 85, right? And you're going to leave a message, if you get their voicemail, referring back to the email, right?
Yep.
Hey, John, I sent you an email a couple of hours ago about, and then put in the advisor facing benefit. If that's something you're interested in, let's connect, blah, blah, blah. Right. So
Yep.
you're going to call them, but you're going to refer back to the email. So if you get a call back, great. But the idea is you're pushing them toward the email. All right.
Okay.
That's kind of that combo prospecting. And then the 5 is power prospecting. Okay. You're going to do each week, you're going to grab 5 of those people and go above and beyond. Right. I don't know if you remember, we had the my one client, it's kind of taken on a life of its own, the name, wow mailers, right?
Yeah.
You actually send them something physically, and I can email you some information about that after. But
No, that'd be great.
it's where you, after this, but it's where you send them like a physical package with a certain note in there, right, to try to get in the door.
Yeah.
Power prospecting would be like, remember we talked about the cartoons at one point, right? Like
Yeah.
if you remember the greeting cards you can create, like all the more creative ways of doing it, the crumpled letter, all the stuff you're going to learn about in one of your later pillars, right? The sandwich
Okay.
email, when you find some kind of the heck I'm looking for, some kind of overlap with them, went to the same school, used to work for the same company, follow the same people on LinkedIn or something, a certain celebrity, whatever it is. You kind of find that commonality and you put it in both the subject line and the PS, right? So again,
Okay.
for the purpose of this call, I'm not going to go into that road. Down that road, we can talk after. But at least 5 power prospecting, right? At least 5 of
Okay.
those wow mailers or sandwich emails or whatever creative thing you're doing. Make sense?
It does. Yeah.
They take a little more time. They're a little more targeted. Okay. So that's going to be your prospecting pillar. All right. That's going to be your prospecting pillar.
Okay.
Then I would say I'm going to combine your warm market. So when you're putting together like your Excel sheets and stuff, I'm going to combine your warm market with your COIs. And that's
Okay.
not only existing COIs, but COIs you don't know and you're trying to get a meeting with.
Yeah.
Okay. So what I'm going to say is reach out every week. All right. That could be an email or a phone call. Now your population's so small that, for now I'm going to say reach out to 3 a week. Because, and again, you can reach out to more in any given week, but if you do too many more, you're going to be reaching out to the same people every 3 weeks, right?
Yeah.
So reach out to at least 3, I'm going to call them warm market or COIs, some combination thereof. And basically, we're putting in that pillar because I don't want you to forget about those people, right?
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Those are the ones that either or they're leverage points. Okay.
Yeah. Now are you considering, for the purpose of this pillar, are you considering the record keepers as part of that, or is that it?
Yes.
Or are you thinking the arcades as an entirely separate pillar?
No, I'm thinking of those as this part of this
COI.
pillar.
Okay, cool.
Look, if
Awesome.
you think the number should be more, you can raise it, right?
No, I think three sounds
And
about
again,
right.
if there's that many of them,
Yeah.
but I think those are people you need to focus on specifically. I wouldn't like wait for every 7th or 8th week to hit them like in a prospecting rotation.
Yeah.
So reach out to 3 warm market or COIs every week, right? Just to
Okay.
make sure that stuff doesn't fall through the cracks. Okay. As far as um as far as prospecting goes, I think you need to spend at least 30 minutes a week just getting better at prospecting.
Okay.
A learning pillar where, I mean, there's entire podcasts now on just B2B prospecting and, different ideas to get meetings. There's obviously books out there, like my friend Stu, How to Get a Meeting with Anyone, or, anything like that,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
there's no shortage of, with a Google search, you're going to find websites like blissfulprospecting.com. They have a podcast, How to Get a Meeting with Anyone. The Stu, he's got a podcast. There's so many, Dale Dupree, there's so many people out there who just have idea after idea of how to get in the door. And I think that's critical. You need to spend at least 30 minutes a week just learning what's out there, coming up with ideas, trying them, see what happens. Right?
Okay.
Pillar
Makes
number
sense.
4. Go ahead. What were you saying?
No, makes sense.
So pillar number 4, I think you need to spend a minimum of 1 hour a week building your VAR strategies. Right? You need to spend at least an hour a week building your VAR strategies. And you have access to my, the NLW site now. There's a video on there just about building VAR strategies. I don't know if you've seen it or not.
I have. No, it's a fantastic video, my friend.
Okay, so yeah, so using the components in there and the quick hit, but everything in that hour, again, it's a minimum, right?
Yeah.
I part of me almost wants to say 90 minutes because I think honestly the biggest driver of you getting in the door right now is going to be to actually be valuable to people.
Yeah.
Is to actually have these blue apron kind of ready to go, VAR strategies, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean,
I'm going to leave it at an hour, but it's something you should consider doing more of.
Okay.
I might even change my mind before this call's over. Okay. Then you need to make sure that that you review your sales update and review your opportunity report, the one in Salesforce, right?
Okay.
Even though there's barely anything on there, we're going to start off with once a week. Eventually you should go to twice a week, right?
Yeah.
And so what that consists of is, update it. Meaning if you did it today and the last time you did it was last Wednesday, for example, then any meetings you had since last Wednesday, you need to kind of go back through your calendar, double check, make sure the notes are in there, right? Make sure you've identified or checked off the box that says this is an opportunity. And then the review part means go down that sheet line by line, and anyone who needs that next email, phone call, touch, whatever it is, gets it, right?
Yeah. Could let me ask you a question on that.
Yeah.
Obviously you've worked with a lot of guys in a lot of different fields and, including a lot of guys in in my field, and you're familiar, of course, with my specific area, you know, the DCIO distribution is obviously a very long process. You know,
Yep.
don't typically walk into a meeting, go through the story, and you know the advisor's like, yeah, absolutely, I'm ready to replace this XYZ sleeve. But you know, at the same time, you know, based on the conversation, you know, you're kind of balancing out, going, God, I feel like this could be an opportunity. Would that be something, in your opinion, kind of in this opportunity report, you know, you put a placeholder in the pipeline to go, okay, based on my conversation with this guy, I think there's an opportunity moving forward? Or would you kind of crystallize it with very specific opportunities where the guy said, hey, I have XYZ fund, I'm considering
Yeah.
replacing?
Yeah. Let me be
Yeah,
crystal clear what an opportunity is. Okay.
yeah, absolutely.
An opportunity is that you have a clarifying conversation inside that meeting. And when you leave that meeting, you believe, okay, you believe that that advisor or that person is genuinely interested in taking that next step, whatever that next step is. That
Yeah,
next step, depending on where you're at in the cycle, could just be reviewing your information. It could be setting up a meeting with his research team to put it in there. It could be actually using it, saying he's going to be using it. So if there's a next step that you need to walk them across the finish line on, then that's an opportunity. So
okay.
every
Yeah, that
opportunity
makes sense.
isn't the final sale. An opportunity is, okay, we both agreed at the end of the meeting, and you can listen to the audio on clarifying conversations, but you know, we agreed at the end of that meeting that this was the next step. You positioned follow up as a service. Now you need to make sure you walk that across the finish line so that next step gets done. That's an opportunity,
Perfect.
right? If a guy just
Yeah, that makes
says,
sense.
yeah, thanks for introducing this to me. You know, I'm probably not going to be doing anything till, you know, the second quarter of next year, blah, 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 but I am interested. Let's stay in touch, all that. That's not an opportunity.
Right, right.
I'm not saying don't stay in touch with him and don't go try to meet with him again, but you know, if he or she says something like that, that's not an opportunity that you have to stay on top of.
Yeah,
They kind of go on the warm market list, and you'll schedule them when it's time to schedule them. So that's what I mean
cool.
by an opportunity.
Cool. Awesome.
Sometimes an opportunity could be from another wholesaler. Hey, they said they were going to introduce you to someone, right?
Yeah,
I want to stay on top of that till they introduce me.
yeah.
Okay. I think you need to spend a minimum of 30 minutes a week updating your database. Meaning that stuff, what you were calling research earlier,
Yeah,
you need to spend at least 30 minutes a week figuring out who's who and keeping it in that database, that prospecting database, those Excel sheets.
yeah.
I think that's critical for you right now because it sounds like there's a lot you don't know about who to call on and stuff like that.
Yeah, very much so.
And then I think the last piece of the puzzle is, I'll be honest, I don't think you need a clarifying conversations pillar right now. And
Okay.
here's why. Look, if you want to build out your clarifying conversations, you should do that. But at this point in your business, with how little traction you're getting and how few meetings you're having, I'm not convinced that's going to have the biggest return on investment.
Makes sense.
In other words, I'm not saying you couldn't get better at it and that at some point, and again, look, clarifying conversations, you can build one out in an hour. I mean, you can
Right.
consider that a task if you need to. I just don't think the return on investment is that high because you're not having that many meetings, right? So if you're
Yeah.
a 7 right now, going from a 7 to an 8 or an 8.5 or a 9 probably won't do that much for you.
Yeah.
Um, I think where the last pillar is that I think the last pillar for you is in the messaging department. I think you know enough about writing short emails based on our working together, right?
Yeah.
I think. I mean, you have to
Yeah.
you have to confirm with me, or I have to confirm this with you. But I think your emails, you know how to write a short and sweet email, right?
Yeah.
I think what's going to determine whether those emails are effective in getting returned is there anything of value inside of them, right?
Right.
And so that's where the VAR strategies are going to come in. That's where inviting them to the quick hit calls when you build the VAR strategies is going to come in. I think where you need to spend time, biggest return on investment is, and tell me if I'm wrong, is the product story itself. The, turning it, making it easy to buy, right? Pulling out the advisor facing benefits of the product so that people want to hear about it. Understanding where your competition is and how to position it.
I would agree with that.
And so I would say 30 minutes a week, again, minimum, on your product messaging. That includes, the story, the competition, whatever you need to do so that when you are talking to someone about it, or you are given the 10-second elevator pitch on it, it's an effective thing that you're saying.
Yeah.
So let me run down what I have for your pillars.
Okay.
And then you tell me if we missed anything or anything needs to be adjusted. But I'm thinking your prospecting pillar is 85, 85, 30, and 5.
Okay.
Right? 85 emails, 85 forwards, at least 30 phone calls on those same 85, and then 5 power prospecting. All right.
Okay. Yep.
You need to reach out to at least 3 warm market people or centers of influence. That's pillar number 2. 30 minutes of prospecting learning. 1 hour on your VAR strategies. You need to update and review your opportunity report once a week. You need to spend 30 minutes a week updating your database.
Okay.
And you need to spend 30 minutes a week on your product messaging. And I think what we're accomplishing with these pillars is we're building up value with the prospecting, the VAR, and all that stuff so that people want to talk to you. And then we're obviously consistently reaching out to them.
Yeah. No, I absolutely makes sense. Makes sense. How do I, and I hopefully this makes sense. How do I bridge that gap between, all right, I'm working on the VAR strategies, I'm creating the quick hit calls, et cetera. How do I blend that with the prospecting pillar? So the prospecting, I guess prospecting for me, I guess for lack of a better word in the past, was typically, at some point in time, I've made this connection to this advisor. And so then I'm reaching out and I'm calling, I'm trying to schedule an appointment or, I've booked a CE event at Maggiano's and I'm trying to, contact the advisor to go to that CE event at Maggiano's, right? That continuing education event or XYZ. And so, I think one of the things where
those are different to me.
Yeah.
So the prospecting is for you're reaching out for one-on-one meetings, right? Whether that's leading with a VAR strategy or the product or whatever. When you create these quick hit calls, right, and you have enough of them, or these events, these virtual events, it doesn't matter. I think your invites should be mass mailed.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
Do you have the ability to do, but you should only be inviting people you actually want to meet with.
Yeah.
But those should be mass mailings.
Okay.
Like I talk about in the video where you do like 2 invites right up to the event, like one like 10 days out, one
10
like
days
the day
before.
Those to me, you use whatever system you guys have for mail merge or whatever, and those should be sent out to everyone.
Gotcha. Okay, that makes sense. So So in the prospecting pillar, and just kind of help me conceptually build this out for the one-on-one meeting. Say I'm uh, doing a quick hit call on creating a morning routine or whatever it may be, right?
Yeah.
Um, send out those kind of mass email to those guys 10 days ahead of time. And then I also have that prospecting pillar just kind of coincides that same week. So is it helpful in the prospecting pillar to kind of send the same message, like, or
Yes.
create a
Yeah.
different message in the
So
prospecting
you're
pillar,
gonna
if that makes sense?
yeah, you're gonna be inviting people on a one to many, right?
Yeah.
For these conference calls, these quick hit calls, and events like that. But also, if you remember, as part of the VAR strategy, you have these in-meeting programs, right? Where you actually
Yeah.
so go back to planning your day effectively. On the quick hit call, you're going to be talking about how to effectively plan your day and the components of an effective day, blah, blah, blah. The call to action at the end is going to be to basically say, look, if this is something you're serious about learning how to plan your day and work your plan sequentially, you know, reach out to me and I can actually share the exact system that I use, right? Like, so that would be
Yeah.
like the call to action on a quick hit call. Whereas on an invite for a meeting, you would just directly let them know, right? Like you would create an email that basically says, you know, I use the system, blah, blah, blah. I can would it be worth a short call to walk through that system, on how you can effectively plan your day and, get control of your day again or whatever, right? So,
Yeah.
it's just offering a one-on-one sit down or virtual Zoom, whatever it is, a one-on-one versus a group. But yeah,
Gotcha. Gotcha.
that same topic can be used to generate one-on-one meetings. It can be used to turn into those 7-9 minute quick hit calls.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
I think if you watch that VAR video again, it kind of
Yeah.
separates that out pretty clearly. But yeah, they're the same thing. Yep.
Okay. That makes sense. So in other words, next week, come back in and, set up this, quick hit call 10 days in advance. I send out all those emails and I'm hitting my first 85 prospects. I'm really aligning that message on the prospecting email to the same message on the quick hit call. I'm not
No, no,
going.
no, no, no. I misspoke, or there was miscommunication. What I want you to get to eventually
Hmm.
is that what I want to get you to eventually is that maybe once a month, like every third Thursday of the month, you're doing a quick hit call, right?
Yeah.
It's a different topic. Okay. But whatever topic you're using, let's stay with planning your day effectively or referrals or something like that. That same VAR strategy, you can be sending out emails, had nothing to do with the quick hit call, about just meeting people about it, both months
Okay.
before that call, months after that call. It doesn't matter.
Gotcha.
Just like inside the meeting, if you're already talking to somebody, you can offer that up as something you can help them with,
Yeah.
right?
Okay.
Yeah. Well, the prospecting, the goal is to get a one-on-one meeting with the prospecting. The goal
Gotcha.
of the invites is to get them on the quick hit call, and the goal of the quick hit call is to provide
Get a
value.
one-on-one.
Number one, to build your reciprocity, your brand. But number two, as you'll see in the video, if you watch it again, there's always that clear call to action to get a one-on-one meeting, right?
Yeah.
It's easier to get a one-on-one meeting after the quick hit call because they've already raised their hand and said, this is a topic I'm interested in. Then you've provided value and they're saying, hey, if you want something more specific or whatever, the call to action is, let's connect.
Okay.
Two different, they're two different things, although the topics can definitely overlap. And the in-meeting program that you give to somebody, that you're offering to somebody when you're prospecting them and that, you have a one-on-one, it's the same in-meeting program you're offering them at the end of a quick hit call, if that's what you're doing.
Okay. Yeah. Gotcha. No,
So as far as
that's really helpful. Thanks
and
for.
you and I can talk for a little bit
Yeah.
after this recording, but
Sure.
for the purpose of the pillars, do you feel like we addressed everything?
I do. I like I like the framework. I like the structure, and the biggest kind of bottleneck I think I had before when I started this was like I said, I didn't really feel confident around just that prospecting pillar because there was, you know, building the messaging and building the approach around, all these pillars together, I think work significantly. Yeah, I love where we are with these pillars.
Awesome. So I'm going to click off the recording here and hang out for a
Okay,
minute, and we'll talk about some of those other topics that are specific to what you're doing.
awesome, buddy.
All right. Thanks, man.
Thanks, buddy.
Thanks for listening to another episode of Simplify Your Strategy, Magnify Your Results. If you know someone you think could benefit from this episode, be their hero and share it with them. If you'd like a free copy of my book or you want to be considered as a guest on a future episode, head on over to productivitygiant.com. Have a great day, and thanks again.